They said Foxfire was born only where truth and longing touched the same breath. In the deep dusk of Akagahara forest, where old cedars leaned like watchful guardians and the scent of moss lingered in every breeze, small orbs of pale blue light were known to appear. They drifted between tree roots like wandering stars, soft as moth wings, warm as a lantern carried by a gentle hand. Most villagers called them Kitsune, Foxfire, a sign that a fox spirit walked nearby. Children loved the idea. Adults pretended they didn't fear it. Travelers whispered prayers when they saw it. But Aimee felt something else entirely when she saw the lights. She felt recognition, as if the Foxfire were calling her name. Aimee had grown up at the forest's edge, in a small home shaped by her grandfather's hands. Polished cedar, warm hearth, and a garden that glowed every spring with blush-pink camellias. She was quiet, quick-footed, and thoughtful, often wandering into the woods for longer than her grandfather liked. "You walk as though the trees whisper secrets only you can hear," he would tell her, brushing soil from his robe after tending the garden. Aimee never denied it, because it was true. Whenever she entered Akagahara, she felt the forest shift. Branches rustled without wind. Fox tracks appeared where no fox could be seen. Light fell strangely soft on moss and stone, as if filtered through invisible hands. And always, always the Foxfire returned, hovering near her path, drifting when she drifted, waiting when she stopped. Yet she had never seen the spirit who shaped them. Not until the night the whisper of the Foxfire called her deeper than she had ever gone. It began during the Lantern-Makers' Festival, Akari no Hai, the Night of Lights. Lanterns of every color swung across the village square, their warm glow painted across smiling faces. Children carried tiny paper lamps in the shape of rabbits and deer. Musicians beat their drums, calling laughter from every street. The air glittered with firefly gold. Aimee helped her grandfather with their stall, polishing hand-carved wooden charms and placing them carefully into small cloth pouches. He carved talismans for protection and luck, fox-shaped, bird-shaped, moon-shaped. Some villagers said he had the hands of a storyteller who carved truth into wood. But as the night deepened, Aimee felt the tug, a gentle pull beneath her ribs, soft but insistent. It came like a whisper beneath the music, a note woven into the air. "Come." Aimee froze mid-step, breath-catching. She turned slowly, scanning the square. And there, near the path that led toward Akagahara, floated a faint orb of Foxfire, soft blue, pulsing once, waiting. Aimee stepped toward it instinctively. Her grandfather's voice called after her, "Aimee, where are you going?" "I'll be right back," she said, though she didn't know if that was true. The Foxfire drifted toward the forest, weaving between lantern shadows. Aimee followed, past the drumming, past the lantern-lit laughter, past the warmth of the village, into the cool hush of Akagahara. Twilight lingered beneath the trees, even though night had fully taken the sky. Aimee stepped through ferns soft as feathers, her lantern flickering in her hand. The Foxfire bobbed gently ahead like a guide that had waited years for her arrival. Why are you calling me? She whispered. The orb pulsed, a gentle answer she somehow understood. Because you hear. Imi's heart tightened. She quickened her steps. Roots twisted beneath her feet, but she moved more easily than she ever had, as though the forest itself guided her. After several minutes of walking, the Foxfire stopped. They stood before the hollow cedar, a tree older than memory, trunk split open by lightning years before Imi was born. She had visited this place often. She had left offerings for the spirits here, rice grains, folded paper cranes, a small bell tied with red thread. Tonight, the hollow glowed from within, not with fire, not with lantern light, but with foxfire. A dozen small blue flames drifted inside the cedar, lighting it like a shrine. Imi stepped closer, breath trembling, and then the flames stirred. They gathered, merged, shaped themselves into a silhouette, the form of a fox, tall as a standing man, fur woven from pale flame, eyes bright gold, not burning, not frightening, beautiful, Kitsune. Imi froze, unable to speak. The fox spirit stepped forward, paws touching the ground with a softness that stirred no leaves. Trails of foxfire followed his movements like drifting ribbons. Imi, he said, voice smooth as warm night wind, echoing like a memory she didn't know she had. She gasped, You know my name? He nodded once. I have known it longer than you have carried it. Her lantern's light shook in her trembling hand. The kitsune's golden gaze softened. Do not fear, he said. I have watched you since the day your mother brought you to the forest to hear the first breath of the morning wind. Imi's lips parted. My mother? But she died when I was too young to remember. I remember her, the fox said, and she asked me to watch over you. Imi's breath faltered. She felt the world narrow into a single heartbeat. You knew her? The fox nodded. Very well. Imi stepped closer despite herself, tears stinging her eyes. What was she like? Please, tell me. But the fox lowered his gaze, expression shadowed with something deep and aching. I will, he whispered, but not yet. Tonight, you must understand something else. Blue light swirled around him, not bright, but soft, like candlelight caught in drifting fog. Imi, he said. My name is Cory. The fox's voice dimmed with sorrow. And I am dying. Imi's heart lurched. No, that's not possible. You're a spirit. Sorrow can break more than flesh, Cory replied gently. Even a fox of flame can lose his fire. Imi took a shaking step toward him. Why? What happened to you? Cory looked up, golden eyes meeting hers. My heart, he whispered, has been bound by a grief too long carried, and only the one who hears foxfire can unbind it. Imi's breath caught. You mean me? Yes. The forest stilled. Even the wind held its breath. Cory stepped closer, slow, deliberate, reverent, until Imi could see the faint cracks of dimming light running along his fur, like fractures in fragile ice. Your heart, he said softly, is open. You listen when others look away. You feel the truth beneath silence. Ami trembled. I don't know how to help you. You will, the fox said, because your mother knew, and through her, the forest chose you. Imi's knees weakened. Why me? Corey bowed his head. Because my heart is dying, he whispered, and its last hope lies in yours. The foxfire around them trembled as if moved by a wind that had no source. Corey's eyes glowed brighter. Tonight, he said, you begin the path your mother once walked, path of light, path of truth, a path woven with foxfire. Imi swallowed, voice barely a breath. What must I do? The fox stepped back. Raising his tail in a graceful arc, foxfire pooled around his paws like fallen stars. You must walk with me, he said, into the heart of Akagahara, to the place where my story broke, and where yours must begin. Imi took a trembling breath. Then she stepped forward, into the foxfire, into the night, into the legend waiting to claim her. The first thing Imi noticed as she stepped after Corey was that the forest no longer sounded like a forest. There were still leaves, still branches, still the creak of bark and the whisper of wind. But beneath those familiar sounds lay another layer, a soft, pulsing hum, as if the very roots of the trees were breathing together. Foxfire drifted around them like patient stars, casting a pale blue glow on twisted trunks and moss-dark stones. Wherever the light touched, the world seemed sharper, sharper than the lantern glow of the village, sharper than daylight ever felt. It was as if this light did not merely illuminate things but revealed what lay just beneath them. Corey walked ahead, his paws barely making a sound on the forest floor. His fur flickered with flame that did not burn, each step leaving the faintest print of light before it faded into shadow. Do not stray from the foxfire, he said quietly. Akagahara is old, and old places like to keep what wanders too far inside them. Imi swallowed and kept close. I've walked through this forest my whole life. You have walked, Corey said. At its edge, there is a difference. His tone wasn't unkind, but it held a weight Imi had never heard before. A reminder that the forest she thought she knew had layers she had only brushed with curious fingertips. They passed trees whose trunks twisted like braids of dark rope, stones engraved with symbols half swallowed by moss, and tiny shrines long abandoned by human hands, their offerings reduced to brittle remains of rice, cracked cups, and faded paper talismans. At one small shrine, Corey paused. Imi recognized the shape of the stone fox statue, half covered in creeping vines, its face softened with age. Fresh rainwater had collected in a shallow groove before it. Imi hesitated, then knelt and bowed low. Forgive us, she murmured, instinct guiding her more than thought. For forgetting you, for forgetting the way. Corey's golden eyes shifted toward her, the faintest surprise flickering in their depths. Who taught you to bow like that? He asked. My grandfather, Imi replied, straightening. He said even forgotten shrines remember who respects them. A faint line of foxfire rippled along Corey's spine, like a pleased shiver. "Your grandfather," he said thoughtfully, "is less blind than most." They moved on. The deeper they went, the stranger the forest became. Color slipped from the world in slow layers. The greens of the leaves dimmed to muted jade. Browns of bark and soil faded into charcoal tones. Only the foxfire remained vivid, floating around them in gentle arcs. Amy realized abruptly that her lantern had gone out. She stared at the lifeless flame, heart tightening. "I didn't even see it die," she whispered. "Human light does not last long here," Corey said. "It is a guest, not a native. Foxfire belongs to this place. Like I do." Amy walked closer to him, comforted by the soft glow of his fur. But the dimming light revealed another truth. Corey really was fading. In the hollow space beneath his ribs, the foxfire that made up his heart flickered weakly, its glow broken by hairline fractures. In some places, the light barely shone through. "Sorrow can break more than flesh," he had said. Now Amy saw what he meant. "Corey," she murmured, "how long has your heart been like this?" He did not answer immediately. "Too long," he said at last. "Long enough that even the oldest spirits have grown used to the sound of its cracking." They reached a small clearing encircled by stones, tall, rough pillars arranged in a careful circle. At the center lay a flat slab of rock, smoothed by time. Strange, faint lines crossed its surface, like old writing erased by wind and rain. Foxfire hovered here in greater numbers, drifting above the stones, gathering like silent witnesses. Corey stepped into the center of the ring and turned to face Amy. "This," he said, "is where my heart began to break." Amy approached slowly, her bare feet brushing old leaves. "What is this place?" she asked, voice soft. "A promise," Corey said, "and a grave." The word grave rippled through her like cold water. "A grave?" she echoed. "Who died here?" Corey's gaze lowered to the stone slab. "Not who," he said quietly. "What?" He lifted his head again, and for the first time since she met him, Amy saw fear in his eyes. Not of her, not of the forest, but of the story he was about to tell. "Amy," he said, "before your mother, I had another human." The world seemed to narrow around those words. "Another?" Amy asked, heart squeezing unexpectedly. "Yes," Corey said. "A long time ago, when even your grandfather was still a child. Her name was Rin. She was the first to hear the foxfire's whisper. The forest chose her, as it chose you." Amy felt the faintest tremor run through the foxfire drifting above the stones. "What happened to her?" she asked. Corey looked at the stone slab, and his voice dropped. "She loved the forest too deeply, and she believed that every sorrow could be softened if she only held it close enough." Amy didn't know whether he was talking about Rin or herself anymore. "She made a pact with me," Corey continued. "She asked me to tie my heart to hers, so that she could share the burden of every lie, every broken promise, every lonely spirit that wandered too far from its path." Together, we carried things too heavy for one soul alone. Imi's chest tightened. You shared your heart. And for a time, Corey said. It was beautiful. The foxfire shone brighter than ever. The forest grew restful. Lost travelers found safe paths home. Cruel hunters forgot their cruelty when they entered Akagahara. The balance was almost perfect. He closed his eyes. But balance is fragile, especially when one side is mortal. Imi felt a cold understanding begin to form. Ran, she whispered, was human. You weren't. She grew older. Yes, Corey said. Her body began to tire. Her hands trembled when she lit lanterns. Her laughter grew quieter. Yet she refused to loosen her hold on the sorrow we shared. I can carry it longer, she always said. Just a little longer. He paused. Foxfire swirled low around his paws, brushing the ground like restless breath. One winter, he continued, the village turned inward. Food was scarce. Fear grew thick. People blamed each other. The forest heard their anger. So did the spirits. So did I. And so did she, Imi whispered. Corey nodded. She took it into her heart. Every harsh word. Every selfish thought. Every frayed bond between neighbors. She refused to let those things sink deeper into the world. His voice cracked. She tried to cleanse them with her own warmth. Imi closed her eyes, imagining a woman standing like a lantern between the forest and the village, absorbing every scrap of darkness that should have been scattered, shared, changed over time. What happened? She asked, throat tight. She burned out, Corey said simply. The words fell like stones. One night, he continued, she came here, to this stone. She lit her last lantern and placed it in the center of the ring. She smiled at me and said, Corey, I'm sorry. I took too much. My heart is small. I thought if I held enough sorrow, no one else would have to. His voice grew faint. I tried to pull the burdens back from her, but our hearts were already tied together. When she cracked, so did I. Her body returned to the earth. But my heart, he glanced down at his chest, never fully healed. Imi stared at the stone slab in the center of the ring. She suddenly saw it differently, not just as old rock, but as a place where someone had once knelt, smiled, and let themselves break for love. Is that why you're dying? She whispered. Because of what happened to her? Partly, Corey said. A shared heart rarely survives when one half stops beating. But the deeper wound came after. Imi looked up. After. Corey's gaze shifted toward the forest canopy, where a sliver of sky showed through the branches. Humans forgot her, he said. They forgot the girl who walked the woods at night with a lantern. They forgot the way the storms calmed when she sang. They forgot the fox who stood guard at her side. They named their peace good fortune and their safety hard work. They stopped leaving offerings. They stopped bowing to the forest. They stopped thanking the unseen. His voice softened into something raw. The world she carried sorrow for forgot she had ever lived. The foxfire above them dimmed. Amy felt that nameless aching hollow she had carried for years, the space left behind by a mother she never knew, by stories not fully told, by memories wrapped in silence. I think I know that feeling, she whispered, to be shaped by someone's love, and yet have no memory of their face. Corey looked at her. You carry her echo, he said. You laugh like she did when you see fireflies. You tilt your head the same way when listening to wind. Even your way of stepping on roots, careful, respectful, belongs to her. Amy's eyes stung. My mother, she whispered, was Ran. Amy did not know when the boundary between waking and dreaming dissolved. Only that one moment she was lying beneath the cold canopy of Akagahara, and the next she was standing in a world that felt both impossibly vast and impossibly intimate. The forest she entered was not the forest she knew. Here, the trees did not simply rise. They breathed. Their trunks shimmered with faint veins of light. Their leaves rustled without wind. The air felt thick with memory, as if every step Amy took stirred 1,000 unseen stories woven beneath the soil. Foxfire drifted around her like luminous dust motes, thousands of tiny blue lanterns floating through the air as if the night sky had fallen into the woodland. She realized with a sharp breath, this was the forest's dream, the spirit layer, a realm where humans rarely walked, a place that decided who could share sorrow and who would be devoured by it. Amy looked down at herself. Her body glowed faintly, like she was a lantern made of skin and breath. She tried to breathe calmly, though her pulse raced. A soft voice carried through the glowing haze. Amy! She turned. Corey stood a few paces away, but not the fading, fractured Corey she had seen in the waking world. This Corey was whole. His flames were bright, his fur unbroken, his eyes as warm and sharp as molten gold. Amy stepped forward instinctively. Corey, are you? A memory, he said gently. A piece of myself preserved here. The true me waits outside this dream. Amy's voice softened. Then, this isn't real? Corey shook his head. It is more real than the world outside, he said. This is the layer where spirit and intention become truth. Amy swallowed. Why am I here? Corey's expression dimmed, sadness passing through him like a shadow across flame. Because the forest must decide whether to claim you. Amy felt her breath catch. Claim me? To accept you, Corey corrected. To allow your heart to touch mine. To take on a part of the sorrow that Ren once carried. Amy wrapped her arms around herself, trying to ground her rising fear. And if it refuses? Corey looked away. Then you will wake with no memory of me, he said quietly. No foxfire, no path. The forest will close its eyes to you forever. Something in Amy's chest clenched painfully. I don't want to forget, she whispered. Corey's gaze returned to her, soft and luminous. Then walk. The forest is waiting. The first trial, the path of echoes. Foxfire gathered around Amy, forming a swirling current of light. It stretched forward like a river, winding deep into the glowing dream forest. She took a steadying breath and walked. The path shifted beneath her feet, not dirt or stone, but shimmering reflections, like she stepped on the surface of a moonlit pond. Each step rippled with faint whispers, voices she did not recognize. At first, the whispers were soft. "Imi, little one, you hear us." But then familiar ones. Her grandfather's warm voice. "Imi, the forest listens. Speak kindly to it." Her mother's voice, one she had never consciously heard in her life, slipped into her chest like a long-lost lullaby. "Don't be afraid, my light. The world listens when you do." Imi stopped walking. She couldn't breathe. "Cory, I hear her," she whispered, voice trembling. The memory Cory stepped beside her, watching with eyes full of sorrow. "This is what remains of Wren's voice," he murmured. "Her echo lingers here. Not flesh, not spirit, only memory." Imi knelt, pressing her hands into the shimmering reflections. "Mother," she breathed. For a heartbeat, the dream forest brightened. But then, the whispers changed. Deeper, darker, rumbling like storm clouds gathering behind mountains. "You cannot carry her sorrow. You are too small. You will break like she did." Imi's stomach twisted. "That's not true." The voices deepened, pressing like invisible weights against her back. "You are not enough. You will fail. You are fragile." The foxfire around her flickered, struggling. Imi clenched her fists. She had heard these words before, not from spirits, but from villagers who thought kindness was weakness. From elders who saw wandering in the forest as foolishness. From her own self-doubt on nights when she felt hollow and directionless. But here, the words felt larger, heavier, as if the forest itself challenged her worth. "Imi," Cory murmured, "these are not commands, they are questions." Imi lifted her head, breath shaking. "What question? Do you believe you are enough?" Imi shut her eyes tightly. She thought of her grandfather's quiet pride. She thought of the foxfire that followed her since childhood. She thought of Cory, broken, dimming yet trusting her. "I don't know if I'm enough," she whispered. Her voice cracked, but did not break. "But I know. I don't want to run." The dark whispers faltered. "I want to help him. I want to honor my mother. I want to listen to the forest and not be afraid." The dream forest brightened. Foxfire surged upward, filling the path with brilliant flame-like blossoms. The first trial passed. The second trial, the mirror of souls. The path shifted, curling into a circular glade. At its center rose a giant pool, smooth as polished obsidian, reflecting none of the trees around it. When Imi stepped closer, the water rippled, then formed her reflection. But her reflection smiled before she did. A cold chill ran up her spine. "Do not touch the water," Cory warned softly. Imi watched her reflection tilt its head. Its eyes were brighter, sharper, more fox-like. "Hello," it whispered. Imi stepped back. "You're not me." "Oh, but I am," the reflection said. "I am the you who longs to run, who wants power, not balance. A you who would take foxfire and use it, not tend to it." Imi shook her head. That's not me. Are you sure? The reflection asked. Didn't you envy Ren, even just a little? Didn't you wish you could burn brightly enough for others to remember you forever? Amy opened her mouth to protest, but the reflection stepped forward, its hands glowing like blue fire. You want purpose, it whispered. Meaning, recognition. You want to be more than a girl who wanders forests. You want to shine so brightly no one ever forgets your name. Ami froze. Was that true? Yes and no. I want to shine, Ami whispered. But not alone. Not to be worshipped. Not to be feared. The reflection's smile cracked. Imi's voice strengthened. I want to shine because I listen, because I care, because someone has to. My mother cared and it broke her, but I won't let it break me. The reflection flickered, its fox-like eyes dimming. And I won't let you twist what I am. The pool rippled violently, then stilled. The reflection vanished. The second trial passed. The third trial, the heart of the fox. The path narrowed into a tunnel of densely woven branches. At the end, a faint glow pulsed, slow, steady, like a heartbeat. Ami stepped through. She entered a clearing shaped like a giant fox curled around itself. The ground glowed with soft golden light, forming the outline of a resting kitsune. At the center lay a small blue flame, weak, flickering, fractured. Ami knelt before it. Cory, she whispered, this is your heart. The memory Cory stood behind her. It is the part of me that cannot lie, he said. Dreams reveal truth stripped of fear. Ami reached out. The flame pulsed. A whisper filled the clearing. Not Ren's voice, not the forest's, but Cory's own heart. I am tired. Ami swallowed. The flame dimmed. I am lonely. She felt tears rise. The flame cracked. I do not want to disappear. Amy reached out and cupped her hands around the flame, not touching, but shielding it. You won't, she whispered fiercely. The flame hesitated. You called me, Amy said, voice trembling but firm. You trusted me, and I want to trust you too. The flame brightened faintly. I won't replace my mother, Amy said softly, and I won't become her, but I will walk with you, not as a lantern that burns out, but as one that learns to share its light. A soft warmth spread through the clearing. Foxfire drifted down like falling petals. The flame slowly repaired itself, its cracks closing, its glow steadying. Not fully restored, but no longer dying. Cory bowed his head. The forest has chosen, he said. It accepts you. Amy let out a shaking breath. What happens now? She whispered. Cory's golden eyes softened. When you wake, the real trial begins. Amy awoke with a sharp inhale, as if surfacing from deep water. Cold night air rushed into her lungs. She pushed herself upright, her cloak rustling against the leaves beneath her. For a moment she just sat there, breath slow, the dream forest lingering like mist at the edge of her sight. The clearing around her looked the same as before. Stone pillars circling the ancient slab, vines whispering in the wind. but something had changed. Foxfire hovered above her in a soft halo, drifting like petals caught in a lazy current. She reached out. Several lights glided into her palm, warming her skin like breath. "They're gentle now," Amy whispered, "because they recognize you." She looked up. Corey stood at the edge of the clearing, the faint blue glow of his body flickering weakly. He looked nothing like the whole, bright version she had seen in the dream. Cracks still traced his fur like fractures in cooling embers. His breaths came shallow and slow. Yet when he looked at her, his eyes glowed with something she had never seen before. Relief. "You returned," Corey said softly. "The forest did not reject you." Amy stood, wobbling slightly. "I thought it was going to swallow me at one point." Corey's tail flicked in faint amusement. "If it meant to swallow you, it would not have bothered to show you your reflection. That test is reserved for those the forest hopes to keep." Amy approached him. "Corey, I saw your heart. In the dream. It was fractured," he finished. "As it is here." Amy hesitated. "Then what now?" "I passed the trials, but your heart is still breaking." "Yes," he murmured, lowering his gaze. "The trials were not to heal me. They were to see if you were worthy of learning how." Amy's breath caught. "So there is a way to save you." "There is," Corey said. "But it is not simple. And it is not gentle." Amy stepped closer. "Tell me." Corey lifted his head, golden eyes shining faintly. "Rin bound her heart to mine so tightly that when she broke, so did I. But she did it willingly. Humans burn quickly. Spirits burn slowly. My grief has grown for decades. It has roots now, deep ones." He looked toward the forest, where the wind whispered like distant sobbing. "You cannot simply take the sorrow from me," Corey said. "It would tear you apart." Amy frowned. "Then what am I meant to do?" Corey exhaled, foxfire escaping between his teeth like fading sparks. "You must carry the memory of sorrow, not its weight. You must become a bridge, not a vessel." Amy blinked. "I don't understand." "You will," he promised, "but only after you learn the ritual of Foxfire Oath." Amy felt the foxfire in her hand tremble, as if the lights themselves recognized the name. "Foxfire Oath," she repeated softly. Corey nodded. "A pact older than written language. A bond not of hearts but of intention. It is a vow woven in flame, shadow, and truth. A vow that keeps spirits from collapsing under centuries of grief, and helps humans carry only what they are meant to." Amy looked around the clearing. The stones felt suddenly larger, the shadows deeper, the air thicker with expectation. "When do we start?" she whispered. Corey's gaze tightened. "Now." The preparation. Corey led Amy toward the stone slab at the center of the clearing. She hesitated, thinking of Ren kneeling here, offering her last breath to a spirit she trusted. "Is this where she made her oath?" Amy asked. "The first part," Corey said. "Her vow was to hold sorrow. Yours must be to share it." "Is that all?" Amy asked. Corey's head tilted gently. Oaths change their shape with the heart of the one who swears them. Amy placed her palm on the stone. It pulsed beneath her skin, faint but alive, like touching the memory of a heartbeat frozen in time. "What do I do?" she asked. "Just listen," Corey said. "The forest will teach you what you need." Amy closed her eyes. Wind stirred around her, whispering through the vines. Foxfire drifted above her shoulders. Leaves rustled overhead. Roots shifted beneath the soil, humming in the same slow pulse she had heard in the dream realm. And then, voices, not human, not spirit, something in between. "She bears the echo of the one before. But will she break as the mother did? A lantern cannot shine if it fears its own flame." Amy forced herself to stay calm. "I'm not her," she whispered. "I want to help, but not by fading." The voices seemed to swirl, tightening around her. "Then show us." A breeze brushed her cheek, soft as a hand. Amy opened her eyes. Corey stood before her. Not the fractured, dim Corey of the waking world. Not the whole Corey of the dream, but something in between. His fur pulsed with light that flickered in rhythm with her heartbeat. His tail curled around the stone like a protective veil. "Place your hand on my chest," he said. Amy froze. "Won't that hurt you?" Corey smiled faintly. "Everything hurts, but your hand will not." She stepped forward, her fingers trembling, and laid her palm over the place where his foxfire heart glowed beneath his fur. The warmth was startling, not burning, comforting. Corey closed his eyes. "Now speak," he whispered. "Say the words that shape your vow." Amy's throat tightened. "What am I supposed to say?" "What you feel," Corey murmured. "The forest listens to truth, not recitations." Amy swallowed hard. Her thoughts raced. Her fears, her hopes, her mother's echo, her grandfather's teachings, the foxfire's fragile trust, all spun together like drifting threads. She drew a slow breath. Then she spoke. The oath. "I don't know what I will become," Amy said softly, "and I don't know how much I can carry." Foxfire brightened around her, pulsing like breath. "But I know I don't want you to suffer alone." Corey's ears lowered gently, as if the words eased him. "I won't take your sorrow," Amy continued. "Not the way my mother did. I won't hold it all inside me until I crack." Her voice steadied. "But I will walk beside you. I will share what does not break me. I will listen when you can't speak. And when the forest grows heavy, I will help you remember the parts that are still light." A breeze circled the clearing. Amy's hand glowed faint blue where it touched Corey's chest. "I vow," she whispered, "to be a bridge, not a burden. To be a flame that does not burn itself out. To carry only what a human heart can carry, and nothing more." Silence fell. A deep, resonant silence, as if the entire forest exhaled at once. Then, foxfire surged. It rose in a swirling column around Amy and Corey. Blue, gold, white, shifting like living flame. The stones vibrated. The air shone. For a moment, Amy couldn't see anything except light. The foxfire wrapped around her wrists, her shoulders, her chest, but it was not binding. It was weaving itself gently, like threads finding a new loom. Corey's heart glowed under her hand, brighter, stronger, warmer. And then, a sharp crack split the air. Ami gasped. The cracks in Corey's body split open again. But instead of darkening, they filled with brilliant gold. Light poured from them like molten sunlight. "Corey!" Ami cried. "Are you?" But he wasn't collapsing. He was healing. Not perfectly, not instantly, but undeniably healing. His heart pulsed with new fire, shared fire. Imi's knees trembled. Foxfire drifted to her chest, settling like faint embers beneath her skin. When the last light faded, Corey opened his eyes. They glowed brighter than she had ever seen. "You did it," he whispered. Imi's breath shook. "Did it work?" Corey nodded once. "The forest accepts your vow. And now, a part of my heart is anchored in yours. Enough to steady me. Enough that I will not fade." Imi pressed her hand to her chest. She felt a faint warmth there, a soft echo of foxfire. "Is this forever?" she asked. Corey smiled, tired but whole. "If you choose it to be." Imi exhaled softly, a sense of peace washing over her. Then, the wind shifted. Violently, foxfire trembled. Corey's head snapped toward the deeper woods. "What is it?" Ami asked. Corey's voice dropped into a low, urgent growl. "The forest accepted you." His eyes narrowed. "But something else has awakened as well." The ground trembled beneath their feet. Ami's blood ran cold. "What woke up?" she whispered. Corey's fur bristled with rising flame. "Something that was waiting for the foxfire to weaken," he said. "Something that remembers Ren's death. Not with sorrow." His gaze hardened, but with hunger. A shadow moved between the trees. The real trial had begun. For a heartbeat, Imi could not move. The shadow between the trees did not shift like an animal nor glide like a spirit. It dripped into existence, clawing its shape out of the darkness like a wound tearing open. The forest did not breathe. The foxfire did not sway. Even the wind paused, as if recoiling. Only Corey moved. "Imi," he said, voice low and edged with warning. "Behind me!" She obeyed instantly, stepping back as Corey's flames brightened in uneven, flickering bursts. He tried to stand tall, to look fierce and unbroken, but the golden cracks along his body betrayed how fragile he still was. The shadow emerged further into the clearing. It stretched tall and lean, limbs long as broken branches, body hollow like a rotted tree trunk. Its face was a jagged mask of bark, carved into a twisted grin that never moved. Its voice, when it came, sounded like roots snapping under the earth. "Corey!" The fox spirit's claws glowed as he lowered his stance. "You have no right to speak my name." Imi clutched her cloak around her, heart pounding. "Corey, what is that?" Corey's flame-furred tail curled protectively in front of her. "A Nokajiri," he whispered. "A root-eater, a devourer of dying spirits." Imi felt her stomach twist. It eats spirits? Yes, Cory said. It feeds on Foxfire, on weakened guardians, on sorrow that has grown too heavy to bear. The Nokajiri tilted its head sharply, the motion cracking its wooden joints. You are weakened, Flame Fox. Your heart tastes of old grief. Ami felt Cory tense. The creature's hollow chest pulsed with a deep, hungry sound. And now, a new heart beats beside yours. Its jagged face creaked into a wider grin. Human sorrow, fresh, untamed. Ami stepped back unconsciously. Cory growled, his flames flaring. You will not touch her. The Nokajiri leaned forward, sniffing the air like a starving animal. Her heart is opening, her memories soft, her fears ripening like autumn fruit. Ami felt a cold brush along her skin, her fears rising unbidden, the echo of her mother's broken heart twisting within her. Cory? She whispered shakily. Is it reading my thoughts? No, he murmured. It's smelling your uncertainty. The Nokajiri cracked its long fingers. Give me the girl, it croaked, and I may let you die gently. Cory bared his teeth. You will have neither of us. A deep rumble shook the ground. The Nokajiri lunged. The attack. Cory pushed Ami aside with his tail just as the creature's claws slashed the earth, tearing deep furrows into the soil. Ami fell to her knees but caught herself, scrambling to her feet. Cory! She screamed, but he was already moving. Despite the cracks in his body and the flickering of his foxfire, Cory leapt with a burst of golden flame, striking the Nokajiri with a snapping arc of light. The creature reeled back, its bark like skin sizzling. But it didn't scream. It laughed. Grinding, hollow, splintering. Ami flinched at the sound. Your flame is thin, it hissed. Your sorrow tastes rich. It struck back. A massive claw smashed into Cory's side, throwing him across the clearing. He hit the ground hard, the cracks in his fur sparking painfully. Cory! Ami ran toward him. Don't! He barked, struggling up. Stay back. The Nokajiri turned its hollow gaze toward her. Ami froze. She felt the creature push into her mind. Not with words, but with pressure, like roots trying to split stone. Visions flashed. Her mother kneeling at the stone slab. Ren's lantern flickering as her body weakened. Foxfire dimming. A lone fox crying in the dark. Ami, look away! Cory shouted. She tore her gaze from the creature, gasping for breath. Sweat dripped down her neck. The Nokajiri snarled. Human hearts break easily. I tasted her mother's last breath. Ami's blood turned to ice. Cory's flames flared violently. You lie. She died in the cold. The Nokajiri crooned. Her sorrow spilled onto the earth. I drank from it. Cory roared, flames surging in a torrent of gold and blue. He lunged with renewed fury, slashing across the creature's chest. Bark split, exposing writhing roots beneath. The Nokajiri shrieked, its first sound of pain. You will not speak her name, Cory growled. For a moment it looked like he might overpower the monster. Ami felt hope spark, but the Nokajiri twisted, grabbing Cory by the throat with long, splintering claws. Its grip sank into the cracks in his fur, into the fragile lines that still glowed with shared foxfire. Cory choked. Imi's heart lurched. Cory! The Nokajiri leaned close to the trembling fox spirit. Your heart tastes different. This wooden jaw creaked open. It does not belong only to you anymore. Imi felt her chest burn, the foxfire inside her pulsing. No, she whispered urgently, running toward them. No, stop. Cory met her eyes through the creature's grip. Imi, listen to me, run. Tears burned her eyes. I won't leave you. She wants your heart. The Nokajiri hissed, twisting toward Imi. Give it to me. Imi stumbled back. The creature dropped Cory, turning fully to her. Its limbs scraped the earth as it approached, slow and savoring, like a predator certain of its kill. Imi trembled. Her legs refused to move. I'm not strong enough. I can't fight this. I can't protect him. The Nokajiri reached for her, claws crackling with hungry energy, and then the foxfire inside Imi pulsed. Hard. A sharp shock rippled through her chest, spreading through her arms, her breath, her fingers. Cory, lying on the ground, whispered hoarsely, Imi, call the flame. She froze. I don't know how. You do, he rasped. It is tied to you now. Speak its name. Imi swallowed, shaking. The Nokajiri loomed over her. She pressed her hand to her chest and whispered, Foxfire, please. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the clearing exploded with light. Imi awakens. A torrent of foxfire erupted from Imi's hands, spiraling around her like a storm of glowing embers. The Nokajiri stumbled back, screeching as the flames burned into its bark-like body. Imi gasped, her eyes widening. The flame wasn't hot. It pulsed through her like breath, soft, fierce, ancient. Cory! She cried, stepping toward him. I can't control. Yes, you can, he growled through pain. It listens to intention, not strength. But I don't know what to do. Then choose, he shouted. Fight or lose everything. Imi clenched her fists. She thought of her mother's sacrifice. She thought of Cory's breaking heart. She thought of the forest choosing her. She thought of the vow she swore. I will be a bridge, not a burden. Imi lifted her hands. Foxfire surged forth. The Nokajiri howled, shielding its face. Imi stepped forward, pushing the flame harder, shaping it. Not like a blade or a spear, but like light driving out shadow. Leave, she whispered fiercely. You will not take him. You will not take me. The creature stumbled, cracks spreading along its limbs as foxfire crawled over its body. This is not over. It hissed, voice cracking like dying timber. Her sorrow still stains this forest. His glowing eyes darkened. And I will return to feed. Then the Nokajiri shattered into splinters of dark wood, dissolving into ash that scattered into the wind. Silence fell. Slowly, Amy lowered her trembling hands. The foxfire faded, drifting back into the night like settling dust. Her knees buckled. Corey caught her before she hit the ground, his body warm, his breathing ragged. "Amy," he murmured, awe and fear mingling in his voice. "You called the flame." She clung to him, shaking. I didn't know I could." "You can," he whispered. "And now, the forest knows it too." Amy tried to steady her breath. "Corey, why did the Nokajiri say it drank my mother's sorrow? Was it true?" Corey closed his eyes. "No," he said softly, "but it tasted the grief she left behind. It fed on the pain her death caused. Sorrow lingers, Amy. It takes shapes of its own." Amy lowered her gaze. "Then we have to stop it," she whispered. Corey nodded. "We will." He looked toward the deeper woods, where darkness twisted like restless smoke. "But it was right about one thing," he said. "Your mother's sorrow left a stain in this forest, a place where her grief still sleeps." Amy's heartbeat quickened. "Where?" Corey turned his golden eyes toward her. "At the deepest root," he said, "where the forest keeps its oldest memories, where Ren took her final breath." A cold wind curled around them. Amy felt the foxfire inside her flicker, soft, steady, waiting. Corey stood beside her, bracing his still healing body. "Our path leads there," he said quietly, "to the place your mother died." Amy swallowed hard. "To the place," Corey finished, "where you must decide what kind of flame you will become." The forest grew quieter as Amy and Corey made their way deeper into Akagahara than either had ever traveled together. The trees rose like cathedral pillars, their trunks impossibly wide, their bark marked with age older than any human memory. The ground sloped downward in a gradual descent, as though leading them into the forest's buried heart. Amy felt the foxfire inside her flicker with every step, reacting to something ahead, something powerful, old, and sorrow-soaked. Corey walked beside her, slower than usual but steadier than before. The cracks in his fur still glowed gold, but they no longer bled light. They pulsed in quiet rhythm, strengthened by the vow they had shared. "Amy," he murmured without looking back, "if at any moment you feel the forest pushing too hard, you must say so." She shook her head. "I'll be fine. You say that the way your mother once did," he said softly. "Brave and afraid to burden others." Amy fell silent. His words felt like a hand placed gently over an old bruise. But she straightened her shoulders and walked on. The path eventually opened into a wide basin, a hollow carved into the earth where the trees bowed inward, creating a dome of tangled branches overhead. In the center stood a massive stump, ancient and wide as a house, its surface cracked like dry riverbed clay. Foxfire drifted around the stump in slow, mournful spirals. Amy shivered. "This is it?" she whispered. "The deepest root?" Corey nodded, stepping forward with reverence. "This is where Ren made her final lantern, where she placed her hands on the earth and asked the forest to take her sorrow so no one else would suffer from it." Amy approached the stump, her legs trembling. The air around it vibrated with a strange hum, like a soft, continuous cry trapped beneath the soil. "What do I do?" she asked softly. Corey lowered his head. "You listen." Amy placed both hands on the cracked surface of the stump. First, nothing happened. Then, her vision fractured. Light flooded her mind, white and blinding. The ground trembled beneath her hands. A cold wind rushed past her ears, carrying an echo she felt more than heard. A voice. Her mother's voice. "Amy." Amy's breath hitched. She opened her eyes, and found herself standing not in the hollow, but in a memory. Wren's last night. Snow fell softly, blanketing the forest in layers of white that glowed faintly in the moonlight. A young woman knelt at the center of the clearing, her long black hair streaked with frost, her breath shallow, her hands trembling. "Wren," Amy gasped. She wanted to run to her, hold her, beg her not to continue, but she couldn't move. She was a ghost inside a memory. Corey, whole, bright, unbroken, stood beside Run, trying desperately to keep his flame steady. His eyes burned with fear. "Ran," he pleaded. "You are carrying too much. Stop, please." Ren smiled, small, tired, unbearably gentle. "If I stop," she whispered, "the forest will drown in sorrow tonight. The village, the spirits, all of it will crumble. You will die," Corey said, voice breaking. "I know." Amy felt her heart crack. Ren cupped Corey's muzzle with both hands. "You have been my dearest friend," she whispered. "My light in dark places. But I am human. We break, Corey. It is our nature." "You were not meant to break alone," Corey said, tears of Foxfire dripping onto the snow. Ren smiled again, but her eyes were already dimming. "I am choosing this," she said. "But promise me something." Corey's body trembled. "Anything. If, someday, another heart hears the Foxfire." Ren's gaze lifted as if she could see Amy standing in the memory. "Don't bind with them the way you did with me. Don't give them every sorrow. Let them choose their own flame." Corey's heartbreak echoed through the clearing. Ren placed her lantern on the stump, the flame inside it flickering weakly. "For the forest," she whispered. Then she knelt, placing both palms on the earth. Light burst from her hands, too bright, too fierce, and Ren's body shook violently as sorrow poured out of her like steam escaping a sealed vessel. Corey screamed for her to stop. She didn't. The light dimmed slowly, painfully, until it vanished. Ren collapsed, her body folding gently into the snow. Corey caught her before she touched the ground. "Ren, run, please." But she did not answer. The memory swirled apart like smoke, and Amy was back in the hollow. Corey stood beside her, head lowered as if he had watched it all again through her eyes. "I'm so sorry," Amy whispered, tears streaming down her face. Corey closed his eyes. "She chose it," he said. "But her sorrow rooted itself here, and the Nokajiri grew fat from it. A low rumble sounded from beneath the soil. Ami stepped back. What was that? Cory's fur bristled. The sorrow waking. The ground split open. The sorrow that became shape. Dark roots shot upward like jagged spears, wrapping around the stump. The basin shook as something vast moved beneath them. And then, a shape rose. Not the Nokajiri. Not a spirit. A mass of tangled roots, shadow, and broken memories. Ren's leftover sorrow made flesh. It had no face. Only a hollow knot where Ren's lantern had once glowed. Imi's chest tightened. This came from her? She whispered. Cory stepped in front of her. Not from who she was, from what she carried. The creature shrieked, an agonized, wordless sound that rippled through Imi's bones. Can we stop it? She asked. Cory looked back at her, golden eyes steady. You can. Imi trembled. What if I'm not strong enough? You don't need strength, Cory said. You need truth. The creature lunged. Imi raised her hands instinctively. Foxfire burst from her palms, weaving into a shield of glowing blue. The sorrow creature slammed into it, sending shock waves through her arms. Imi gritted her teeth. Stop, she cried. You don't have to hurt anyone. But the creature screamed louder. Cory shouted, Imi, this thing knows only suffering. Give it something else. Imi's heart pounded. What could she give sorrow besides more sorrow? Then she understood. She lowered her shield. Cory shouted her name in panic. But Imi stepped forward anyway. She placed one hand gently on the creature's tangled mass of roots. Warmth left her fingers, soft, steady foxfire flowing not to destroy but to soothe. The creature trembled. Imi spoke, voice steady though her body shook. You don't belong to her anymore, and you don't belong to me. You deserve to rest. Let go. Foxfire enveloped the creature, not in flames but in light. Slowly, painfully, the mass of roots unwound. The hollow chest filled with soft blue glow. The shadow dissolved like morning mist. The last of Ren's sorrow drifted upward, floating toward the canopy like tiny lights returning home. The creature vanished. The forest exhaled. The creature vanished. The forest exhaled. Imi collapsed to her knees, drained. Cory rushed to her side. Imi, are you? She smiled weakly. I didn't break. Cory stared at her as though seeing her for the first time. No, he whispered. You didn't. The flame she chose. The clearing slowly brightened as foxfire gathered around them. Not sorrowful, but celebratory. Imi felt warmth settle in her chest, and for the first time, it didn't feel like a burden. Cory bowed deeply before her. Imi, bridge of foxfire, keeper of balance. The forest honors you. Imi blushed. I'm just Imi. His golden eyes softened. No, he said gently. You are the flame your mother hoped someone would become. She swallowed hard. What now? Cory stepped closer. Now, he said, we walk together, not as guardian and sacrifice, but as partners. Imi felt her heart lift. Then she took his paw. Let's go home, she whispered. Corey smiled, and together, they began the long walk back to the world where dawn waited. Thank you for listening to Sleep with Myth.